In the middle of a dry desert, a lone horse rider stands atop a tall cliff. The man lifts his hat slightly to block the sun, which reveals his face. 1,000 years ago, the entirety of China was unified into one nation. At that time, it was discovered that there was a large amount of corruption in the imperial army. Many heroes and warriors tried to rise up and stop the emperor, but in these 1,000 years, they all became servants of the emperor instead. At that time, the entire country suffered, and people were worried about their future. After a long time of pain and suffering, a new continent was discovered, which gave people hope for a better life. The land was said to be on the other side of the ocean, and it was a land filled with trees and plains along with loads of natural beauty. This place was a land of opportunity for the people who suffered under the tyranny of the emperor. All sorts of criminals and demonic martial artists went to this new land for their own reasons. Because of that, massive fights broke out on the new land, with each faction wanting to gain power over the others. Zhang Qian flips through a bloodstained book, complaining about how long it is. After finishing it, he leaves it laying on the corpse of a man. Zhang stands up and tells the dead man that the story is all made up, and that the reason the world is suffering is because of martial arts. Zhang looks at all the bodies that lay around him. He walks to a broken down carriage and realizes that the thieves must have taken all of the valuables from it. He looks through their belongings and finds out that the carriage must have held a child that was kidnapped by the robbers. Zhang Qian sighs and puts his hat back on. He gets back on his horse and looks back at the bodies one last time before riding away into the sunset. In the desert, there's an old rundown town. The town has some Eastern-looking architecture, but looks like it's from the Wild West. There are no people out on the streets, but some shouts are coming out from the inside of a bar. A couple of men inside the bar are talking about a certain merchant who was attacked by a band of thieves. They look over at a group of people sitting in the corner, worried that they might be robbers too. Suddenly though, Zhang walks through the doors of the bar, and all the men inside turn to stare at him. Zhang Qian doesn't react and asks if there are any free seats inside the bar. The bar owner tells him to sit wherever there is space, so Zhang walks in and sits down at an empty table. The bar owner talks to Zhang and tells him that this town doesn't get many visitors, which is why everyone is suspicious of him. The bar owner comments that they suddenly started getting a lot of visitors. A group of men start yelling at each other about someone cheating, and the barkeep points at them to show that they arrived just recently. One of the men slams his fist onto the table and accuses another man of cheating at a game. The accused man says that he didn't do anything wrong, but the other man doesn't seem to be listening. The two stand up and face each other. They start insulting each other more before one of the men pushes the other. Before they can start fighting, Zhang Qian, who just walked in, puts a hand on one of the men's shoulders and calls him Yang Gong. Yang turns around and is scared by the Zhang Qian. Yang is very nervous to see Zhang Qian, and so he asks why Zhang is in the bar. Yang swindled Zhang Qian out of a lot of money while playing Chinese dominoes, and because of that, Zhang is trying to hunt their group down. Suddenly, Yang Gong turns to run away, but Zhang Qian grabs him by the hair and pulls him back. Yang's head slams into the table and all the others in the bar look at him in shock. Yang tries to escape, but he's held down by Zhang Qian, who pulls a fake domino out of Yang's sleeve, showing others that he cheated them too. Zhang Qian asks for his money back, but Yang says that he spent it to pay the Murim Union for a bounty. Zhang Qian gets extremely angry at Yang for taking his money and spending all of it somewhere. But Yang points at the money he won by cheating on the table and says he will give that to Zhang Qian. Zhang Qian goes over to the table to pick up the money, but the man who accused Yang of cheating tells Zhang Qian that the money was won unfairly. Zhang Qian tells the man that he doesn't care about that and continues to take the money. The man tries to attack Zhang Qian, but he is thrown off balance and he hits the floor hard. Suddenly, the other men in the bar run at Zhang Qian to attack him, but Zhang Qian dodges all of their punches. He grabs both the men by their collars and smashes their heads together, knocking them both unconscious. The rest of the men in the bar look scared, and Zhang Qian goes back over to Yang to get revenge for having his money stolen. The man who accused Yang of cheating stands back up and runs out of the store, leaving Zhang Qian alone with the other men. Yang informs Zhang Qian that the man who just left was Jin Chung-sok. Zhang Qian turns back to Yang and asks him for some payment in return for the money he lost. Yang panics and pulls out a jade ring from his pocket and gives it to Zhang Qian. Zhang Qian agrees that this was a good payment, and he leaves Yang alone. He stands up and looks at the barkeep before asking for his noodles. Zhang Qian sits down to eat his noodles in peace. but Yang informs Zhang Qian that he should leave town as soon as possible. The man who Zhang Qian beat it up earlier is the younger brother of a martial arts expert who retired in the area, but Zhang Qian ignores Yang and says that he is strong enough to fight anyone. Yang agrees that Zhang Qian is very strong, but Yang tells Zhang Qian that Jin Chong-sok is a part of the Cadaver clan in the Chaos sect. Zhang Qian is surprised that the Chaos sect is able to survive in the area, even though the Murim Union is nearby. But Yang explains that the men are connected to the leader of the Murim Union's branch. Zhang Qian is upset that the Chaos sect has been able to operate so freely, and tells Yang to go away. But Yang shows Zhang Qian that the people around them have already become scared of Zhang Qian. The bar owner comes over and asks Zhang Qian to leave before any more trouble comes his way, but Zhang Qian finishes his soup quickly before saying that he will be fine. Yang tells Zhang Qian that the Cadaver clan has more than 20 people in it, but Zhang Qian doesn't seem to be worried at all. All of a sudden, a large man walks into the bar and rubs his fists. Jin Chong-sok tells the large man that Yang and Zhang Qian were the people who broke his nose and they tried to trick him. The big man tells Jin Chong-sok that he is pathetic, and then he walks over to Zhang Qian. The man taunts Zhang Qian, but the barkeep interrupts by asking him to not break anything. The man looks at the barkeep and he runs away quickly. Yang tries to leave quickly, but Zhang Qian tells him to sit down or else he will die. Before the two can do anything, a group of men swarms around the table with sticks in their hands. The large man introduces himself as Zhang Chong-sok. He walks towards the table and stands over Zhang Qian. Zhang Qian looks up at the man but says nothing and continues to drink his tea. Zhang Chong-sok seems to get upset at him, but Yang stands up and tries to talk to him. Yang tells Zhang Chong-sok that Zhang Qian is new to the village and that they weren't trying to cause any trouble in the town. Zhang Chong-sok doesn't listen and calls Zhang Qian a hooligan, before yelling at them that he will arrest them and bring them to the Murim Union. He tells Yang and Zhang Qian to not resist if they want to stay safe. Zhang Qian asks Zhang Chong-sok if he's going to kill them, but Zhang Chong-sok says he's a righteous man and he will not kill anyone in broad daylight. He goes on to say that he won't let Zhang Qian and Yang leave town with their limbs intact. The men around the table laugh at Yang and Zhang Qian, but Zhang Qian sighs and makes fun of the gang for not being suspicious of him. Zhang Qian lies to the men and says that he's a member of the Imperial Army, which makes Zhang Chong-sok to apologize to him. Zhang Qian reveals that he isn't actually part of the army and was just messing with Zhang Chong-sok. Before Zhang Chong-sok can get angry though, Zhang Qian leaps over the table and kicks Zhang Chong-sok in the face. Zhang Chong-sok goes flying and breaks another table in the room. He starts bleeding from his nose. The rest of the men look down at Zhang Chong-sok, who was knocked out in just one blow, and they become scared of Zhang Qian. They yell to attack Zhang Qian, and they all rush at him with their sticks in their hands. Zhang Qian dodges one of their swings with ease and punches him in the face. Another person runs at Zhang Qian, but Zhang Qian kicks him and he smashes his head in. Zhang Qian continues attacking the men, taking them out one by one. Before long, the men become scared of Zhang Qian, but a man in uniform walks into the room and tells them all to stop fighting. Zhang Qian looks at the man and realizes that he must be from the Murim Union by the badge on his chest. Many of the men in the room look shocked that the Murim Union is here, but Zhang Qian still seems unsurprised. The man asks Zhang Qian if he knows who he is, and Zhang Qian responds that he must be the head of the Murim Union branch. The branch leader smiles and says that Zhang Qian was correct. The branch leader says he received a report that Zhang Qian was assaulting the people of the town. The branch leader asks Zhang Qian if it was true, but Zhang Qian says it was all in self-defense. The branch leader laughs at Zhang Qian, explains that the men attacked him in a 9-to-1 battle. The branch leader asks a couple more questions, which Zhang Qian answers as well. Jin Chong-sok asks the branch leader why he isn't arresting Zhang Qian. The branch leader looks at Jin Chong-sok and tells the guards to arrest him. Jin Chong-sok is confused for a second because he thought the branch leader was going to arrest Zhang Qian, but instead he realizes the truth when the guards put a sword to Jin Chong-sok's throat. Jin Chong-sok asks the branch leader what he is doing. The branch leader explains that if Zhang Qian was able to defeat 10 of the Cadaver clan on his own, then the Murim Union has no reason to be on their side. As he is speaking, more guards come into the room to arrest Zhang Chong-sok while he is still unconscious. Zhang Qian is happy with this and puts his hat back on. As he is moving to leave, the branch leader asks Zhang Qian where he learned his martial arts. Zhang Qian ignores the branch leader and walks out of the bar, leaving the doors swinging behind him. Zhang Qian gets on his horse and starts to ride away from the town, but Yang chases after him on his own horse. Yang asks why Zhang Qian is leaving even though he solved the problems that are happening in the town. Zhang Qian tells Yang that he caused a lot of commotion, so it's better for him to leave town before anything else happens. Yang starts trash-talking the Murim Union after they finish talking. The squad that the branch manager is from was camped out nearby for a while. When they realized that Zhang Qian beated the Cadaver Clan, they ran over in order to arrest the Cadaver Clan when they had the chance. Yang talks about how everyone in the Murim Union is either an opportunist or is lacking in some way. Yang asks Zhang Qian which direction Zhang Qian is headed and asks to go with him. Zhang Qian responds by saying that he is going in the opposite direction of Yang. Zhang Qian tells Yang that if they ever meet again, he will break his leg. Zhang Qian rides off on his horse, leaving Yang behind. That night, Zhang Qian sits by a fire, sipping water out of his cup. He thinks about the question that the branch manager asked him before, about how he learned martial arts. Zhang Qian reveals he learned martial arts from reading stories about it in a different world. Zhang Qian was a normal person in his old world, but when he saw someone about to be run over by a truck, he ran over to try and save them, and he ended up dying in the process. Zhang Qian sighs to himself and puts his hat back on. The next day, Zhang Qian is riding through the desert. He is worried about how long it will take him to reach the next town on his journey. Suddenly, his horse starts acting up and he smells the scent of blood in the wind. Somewhere nearby, a group of merchants is being attacked by some bandits. Most of the merchants are already dead, but one is still alive and being threatened by a thief. The merchant begs for his life, but he is cut down in cold blood. The thief turns to his group and tells them to start gathering valuables from the dead merchants. As they are looking for money, one of them spots Zhang Qian in the distance. Zhang Qian is surprised that the robbers were able to see him and gives them a chance to leave him alone. The robbers don't listen and mount their horses to chase after Zhang Qian. Zhang Qian turns his horse towards the bandits and he rides towards them at full speed. The thieves run at him on their horses too. Zhang Qian pulls a sword from his side and uses it to cut through the first few bandits. Zhang Qian continues charging and ends up killing all of the bandits who were on horses that were trying to attack him. The remaining bandits finally realized that Zhang Qian was an expert, and they turn to run away on their horses. The leader of the bandits doesn't run away though and stands to fight against Zhang Qian. As the other bandits are trying to run away from Zhang Qian, the bandit leader cuts them down for trying to leave. The bandit leader steps over the corpses of his allies and looks at Zhang Qian menacingly. The bandit asks Zhang Qian if he's part of the Murim Union, and Zhang Qian just replies that he is a righteous man. The bandit asks if Zhang Qian can just leave them alone, but Zhang Qian responds by saying that the bandits attacked him first. The bandit explains that he's just doing his job and that the people of this world were all greedy and they try to exploit the weak. Zhang Qian doesn't listen to him and he calls them all murderers who want nothing but blood. Zhang Qian realizes that the bandit must have a bounty on his head, so he decides to kill the bandit for the money. The bandit uses some special power in order to strengthen himself, but Zhang Qian is not scared and unsheathes his sword. The bandit and Zhang Qian stand against each other, and the bandit glows with some sort of demonic energy. The two stand off for a moment and nothing happens, but suddenly, the bandit charges at Zhang Qian. The bandit and Zhang Qian exchange blows for a moment before the bandit is cut down. The bandit falls to the ground and Zhang Qian sheathes his sword. Zhang Qian hears a voice from behind him and realizes that one of the merchants was actually alive. The merchant asks Zhang Qian for help, so Zhang Qian sits down to try and help him heal. The merchant tells Zhang Qian that he is about to die and asks Zhang Qian to fulfill one request. The merchant tells Zhang Qian that his son is hidden in a small space under the carriage. The merchant pleads with Zhang Qian to take care of his son who is only 8 years old. The merchant tells Zhang Qian that there's a city called Cheongsangok 3 days east of where they are now. The merchant's sister lives there and she is the only relative of his son. Zhang Qian just tells the man to do it himself and starts performing acupuncture on the merchant with his bare hands. The merchant is shocked that Zhang Qian is able to save him in this way. In this world, it is very strange for martial artists to know how to use acupuncture, especially with their bare hands. But Zhang Qian is not from this world. He learned acupuncture when he first arrived here thinking it would be useful. Zhang Qian asks for a reward and then helps the merchant to his son. As soon as the merchant gets his son out from under the carriage, he collapses from the stress of being cut by a sword. The son of the merchant is very confused, but Zhang Qian explains that he was the one who helped his father. Zhang Qian hands the kid a bandage and tells him to apply it to his dad. Zhang Qian then rides off to find some horses to help the two get away from the wreckage. As Zhang Qian is looking for horses, he finds the body of the bandit leader that he killed. The man's name was Kim Sun-dok, and he was a third ARC's captain. Zhang Qian takes the nameplate of the bandit in order to claim the reward. Zhang Qian rides towards the village with the merchant and his son. That night, all three of them sleep around a fire. Zhang Qian notices that the merchant's wounds are still bleeding and asks him if there are any other villages they can go to. The merchant says that there's a small village nearby, but it will take at least a day to get there. Zhang Qian tells the merchant that they're going to go there as fast as possible in order to get his wounds treated. Back at the place where Zhang Qian killed a group of bandits, two mysterious people in robes are examining the dead bodies of the bandits. The group of people stand around the bodies of the bandits and look down at them. One of them says that they are part of a group of bandits that they were after. The two figures reveal that they are part of the Murim Union and are on a mission to capture the bandits. On their journey again, Zhang Qian and the merchant are riding through the desert on their horses. The merchant's son seems to be a lot more friendly to Zhang Qian now that Zhang Qian saved his father. The merchant seems to slowly be getting more and more sick as time goes on, and Zhang Qian is worried that he won't make it to the next town. Suddenly, in the distance, Zhang Qian spots a bunch of horses riding towards them. The merchant asks Zhang Qian what's going on, and Jane tells him that there's a bunch of bandits after them. Zhang Qian tells the merchant and his son to go to the next village alone and decides to face off against the bandits by himself. After they argue for a bit, the merchant and his son ride off to the village and leave Zhang Qian to fight. Zhang Qian looks up to the bandits and gets ready to fight. The group of bandits stops in front of Zhang Qian and the leader of them steps out from the crowd. The leader's name is Kim Sang-chong, and he is another captain of the bandit group Zhang Qian fought against before. Kim Sang-chong tells Zhang Qian that they followed his trails all the way from where he attacked the bandits before. They ask Zhang Qian if he is the one who killed the other captain of the bandits, and Zhang Qian responds by throwing the head of the other bandit captain onto the ground. The group of bandits look at the head in shock and back away from Zhang Qian. The first captain of the bandit group tells the second captain to bring Zhang Qian in alive. The second captain raises his sword and tells all the other bandits to follow him in taking Zhang Qian down. Zhang Qian stands silent and waits for the bandits to approach him. While this is happening, the two hooded figures from the Murim Union are chasing after the group of bandits who are attacking Zhang Qian. They talk about how only an extremely skilled fighter could take down that large group of bandits by himself. Before they can say anything else though, they catch sight of more footprints and ride off at full speed towards them. Zhang Qian rides his horse through the group of bandits and cuts them down with ease. They try to all team up on him at once but are unable to get far. After many of the normal bandits get cut down, the captain attacks Zhang Qian using demonic energy. They fight for a moment on horseback, but Zhang Qian jumps off his horse and cuts the bandit down with his sword, killing him. The bandit captain falls to the ground and Zhang Qian stands victorious over them. The final bandit capital looks at the scene from a distance and makes eye contact with Zhang Qian. The bandit captain gets off his horse and he emits a demonic aura. He pulls out his sword and promises to kill Zhang Qian with his own hands. Zhang Qian stands without saying a word and notices that the captain has a different aura from the other martial artists on the bandits' team. The captain continues to taunt Zhang Qian, but Zhang Qian just smiles before removing his hat and saying that he has no intention of sparing the captain either. Demonic arts are techniques that can gather energy 10 times faster than the normal method. After a martial artist gained fame using demonic arts, many others started learning them in order to gain success as well. The downside of demonic arts is that they cause you to lose your mind in the process of using them. Zhang Qian and the captain exchange blows for a bit, but the captain is able to push Zhang Qian back using his speed and power. Zhang Qian is able to hit the captain a couple of times with his sword, but the captain ignores this and charges at Zhang Qian. Zhang Qian manages to block his blows, but his sword slowly starts to get more and more damaged. As the fight goes on, the captain becomes more and more enraged and starts swinging more and more violently. Finally, after a couple more exchanges, Zhang Qian's sword shatters. The bandit captain sees a chance and raises his sword to deal the final blow to Zhang Qian. But right before the blade hits Zhang Qian, he drops his blade and he dodges the slash. Zhang Qian says that the fight would have been hard to win with his sword. Zhang Qian then runs behind the bandit captain and punches him in the back. The bandit captain tries to avoid Zhang Qian's fists, but Zhang Qian continues to attack without giving any room to escape. Zhang Qian steps away from the bandit captain and the captain falls to the ground. He says that he recognizes the fist technique as the Imperial Army's Thunder Sky Fist. But Zhang Qian says he isn't part of the Imperial Army. Zhang Qian says it's a move called the Inner Crushing Hand Technique, and that it's something Zhang Qian created himself. The bandit looks confused at Zhang Qian, but Zhang Qian finishes him off before he can ask anything. After all the action is over, the two robed figures ride towards the place where Zhang Qian fought the bandits. They see Zhang Qian in the middle of all of the bodies and ask him if he's the one who killed all of them. Zhang Qian replies that he was, and the robed figures in the front introduces herself as Zhang. They are part of the Murim Union. Zhang Qian responds by introducing himself as well. Zhang starts searching the bodies of the bandit captain, and the other members of the Murim Union explains that they are looking for the source of the demonic arts the bandits were using. Zhang finds a bloodstained book and tells the other man to burn it. Zhang stands up and asks Zhang Qian if he's the one who killed the third bandit captain the day before, and Zhang Qian admits to it. They ask him if he also managed to kill the second bandit captain, and Zhang Qian points to his body that's laying on the sand. After they finish searching both bodies, Zhang Qian asks Zhang if he would be able to redeem a bounty from them. Zhang Qian explains that there is a reward on the 3 bandit captains he killed, and that he would like to claim it as soon as possible. Zhang laughs and agrees to give him the money. After Zhang Qian starts to ride away from the two, one of them asks Zhang if they should have checked Zhang Qian's martial arts to see if they were demonic. Zhang says that his martial arts are much stronger than a demonic one, and that it would be a stupid thing to stop him. Zhang says that they should find the bandits' camp and free the captives that are being kept there. They all part ways, but Zhang has a feeling that they will meet again in the future. Later that night, Zhang Qian reaches the village where the merchant was asking to be taken to. When he arrives, he is greeted by the merchant and his son. The merchant got healed by a doctor, so he's feeling a lot better now. They all rest for the night and decide to head off to the next town early the next day. They reach the town and walk through the marketplace, passing by a bunch of stores on the way. They see the merchant's sister-in-law standing on the balcony, and they get invited inside right away. After they are all seated, the merchant's sister-in-law hands Zhang Qian a bag of coins as thanks for saving her brother-in-law. The merchant asks Zhang Qian to stay with them for a few days to rest, but Zhang Qian asks for the location of the nearest blacksmith and Murim Association. While on the way to the blacksmith, the merchant's son asks Zhang Qian where he learned his martial arts from, and Zhang Qian replies by saying he learned it by traveling. Many roaming martial artists are willing to teach others if you pay them enough, and Zhang Qian says that's the reason his martial arts are so strange. They arrive at the blacksmith and Zhang Qian heads inside to buy a new sword. He then uses the extra money to buy himself a new hat. That evening, Zhang Qian decides to head out and says goodbye to the merchant's sister-in-law and son. The merchant's son asks to learn martial arts from Zhang Qian, but Zhang Qian refuses and says his martial arts are not good for others to learn. Zhang Qian tells the kid that his aunt is also a martial arts master and points to the merchant's sister-in-law. After this, Zhang Qian turns his horse to leave and rides out of the town before nighttime. Sometime later, Zhang Qian is sitting in a restaurant and playing dominoes with some strangers again. One of the people says that Zhang Qian is terrible at gambling, and Zhang Qian loses all of his money to the other 3 men. Zhang Qian tries to check if they are cheating, but realizes he's just terrible at the game. The other 3 laugh at him, and Zhang Qian gets up to leave. The 3 men make fun of Zhang Qian for carrying a sword around, but Zhang Qian doesn't have the energy to respond. Somewhere else in the restaurant, he sits down at a table and regrets playing the game. He lost all of his money while playing against those men, and he is broke once again. While he is sitting, he hears the sound of someone playing a mandolin. The music fills the tavern and makes everyone relaxed. Zhang Qian thinks the music sounds nice, and he sits down to daydream for a bit. Suddenly, a group of 3 men walk into the tavern and look around. They spot the woman who is playing the mandolin and heads towards her. They ask her if her name is Zhu Liurang, and the woman says yes. Liurang asks the men who they are, and they respond by saying they are from the Shandong family. Liurang laughs and says that the young master of the Shandong family must be causing trouble for her again. The men yell at Liurang for insulting them, but Liurang stands her ground and says she is not responsible for anything. The guards say that Liurang seduced the young master and took a treasure from him. Liurang makes fun of the Shandong family for only sending 3 amateurs to try and capture her, so the 3 swordsmen attack her out of anger. One of them swings their sword at Liurang, but she jumps high in the air and dodges the attack completely. She throws some knives at the man who attacked her and hits him in the head. She lands on another table and says that she only attacked them out of self-defense. The other men in the tavern turn to run away from the fight, but Zhang Qian just watches on silently. Yorang continues to fight against the two men, and Zhang Qian notices she is using a flying martial art in order to beat them. Yorang lands on the side of a pillar before drawing her sword and cutting the two men down. She looks around and puts her sword away before breathing a sigh of relief. After all the commotion is over, Yorang puts her hat back on and looks at the restaurant. The entire place is broken down and the restaurant owner seems very distressed, so Yorang goes over to him and apologizes for the trouble. He accepts her apology and she gives him a bag of coins in order to help with the repairs for the store. Yang watches all of this happen in silence and turns to quickly leave. If the Murim Union finds them in the middle of a broken restaurant, they will definitely be blamed for the crime. The next day, Zhang Qian is back on his horse and he's making his way through a forest. He wonders what he's supposed to do since he lost all of his money while gambling once again. He complains about the situation and sighs to himself. But Zhang Qian's horse suddenly hears a noise off in the distance. In a valley, Yorang is being cornered by a swordsman and she seems to be out of breath. She asks the man why he is attacking her, and he tells Yorang that the young master of Shandong family tried to hang himself out of sadness because of her. The man explains that without a proper explanation, the elders of the clan won't be satisfied. Yorang shouts at that she isn't responsible for the well-being of some random kid, but the warrior says that someone testified that Yorang was responsible for the situation. At this point, Yang looks over a cliff and sees what's happening, and decides to watch the show without intervening. Yorang still claims to be innocent, but the man tells her to come quietly and prove her innocence at the household. Yorang says she has no chance of being able to get out of the house alive, and draws her weapon to defend herself. Yang realizes that this warrior is a true master of martial arts, and that Yorang won't be able to survive if they fight. Yang tries to get up and leave, but his horse headbutts him to get him to help Yorang. He jumps off the cliff and lands heavily on the ground below, shocking both Yorang and the warrior. The warrior asks who Zhang Qian is, and Zhang Qian introduces himself while tipping his hat up. Yorang recognizes Zhang Qian from the restaurant they were at yesterday, but the warrior silently tries to guess how strong Zhang Qian is. The warrior tells Zhang Qian to mind his own business, but Zhang Qian refuses to leave in peace. Yorang insists she is innocent, and Zhang Qian takes her side, causing the warrior to pull out his sword. Both of the men grab their weapons and stare each other down, but neither of them makes a single move. Suddenly, the warrior feels a burst of bloodlust from Zhang Qian and realizes he will die if he tries to fight Zhang Qian. The warrior is shocked and he lets go of his weapon, but Zhang Qian continues to silently stare at the warrior. The warrior sighs and takes his hand off of his sword before complimenting Zhang Qian's skills. Yorang is shocked that the warrior backed away from a fight with someone else. Zhang Qian also releases his sword and stands up straight. The warrior asks Zhang Qian if he is from the Imperial Army, and Zhang Qian answers again that he isn't. The warrior is confused where such a strong man like Zhang Qian could come from, but the man ignores this and gives up. The warrior tells Zhang Qian that he will let them go for today, but the clan will not give up on taking Yorang in for questioning. The warrior introduces himself as Che Eun-sung and walks away. Yorang is surprised that Eun-sung would leave without trying to fight them, but the man gets on his horse and rides away. Zhang Qian is surprised at how Eun-sung acted. Normally, in the Murim world, it would be looked down upon to run away from an enemy without fighting them. But Eun-sung did the smart thing and put his life first. Yorang comes up to Zhang Qian and Zhang Qian expects to receive some thanks from her. But instead, Yorang tells Zhang Qian that he should have killed Eun-sung while he had the chance. Zhang Qian is surprised at how ungrateful Yorang is, but he responds by saying that nothing good would come from killing Eun-sung. Yorang tries to argue but realizes she shouldn't keep arguing with her savior, and she quickly bows to Zhang Qian in thanks. Yorang reveals that she is from a big city and that she experienced a lot of troubles which forced her to leave. Zhang Qian doesn't seem to care and mounts his horse to ride away. Yorang is shocked by this and asks Zhang Qian if he is really leaving like that. Yorang says that the clan will hunt both of them down if they just leave. But Zhang Qian responds by saying that they will probably hunt down Yorang before they go after him. Yorang asks Zhang Qian why he saved her if he was going to leave in the end anyways. And Zhang Qian says that he doesn't need a reason to help someone in trouble. Yorang is surprised that people still think this way in the world, but Zhang Qian ignores her and starts to ride away. Yorang realizes how strong Zhang Qian is and she tries to chase after him to get his help. She offers to pay him to help her out and Zhang Qian stops to listen to her offer. Yorang says that she will pay him properly for his work and also offers to teach him proper martial arts. Yorang knows the martial arts of the Imperial Army and says that it is a good chance for Zhang Qian to learn some of the strongest martial arts out there. Zhang Qian doesn't seem surprised and asks Yorang some questions about the martial arts. Eventually, Zhang Qian asks if he must pledge loyalty to the emperor in order to learn the martial arts, and Yorang responds by saying he doesn't need to do anything like that. Yorang knows someone who used to be a part of the imperial army, and she will get him to teach Zhang Qian if he agrees to help her. Zhang Qian agrees to help her and asks where she needs to go. Yorang says she has helped a bit away from where they are now, and she requests Zhang Qian to escort her there safely. Zhang Qian agrees, and the two ride off towards their destination. In a nearby tree, Eun-sung tells a group of hooded figures that they will attack them on the way. Eun-sung wonders if Zhang Qian is just a wanderer, or if he is some sort of special figure, and he decides to test Zhang Qian in order to find out. That night, Zhang Qian and Yorang sit around a fire, and Yorang explains her backstory to Zhang Qian. Yorang had been a normal traveling mandolin player, but the young master of Jie clan fell in love with her on her travels. Because of this, the young master's fiancé got jealous of Yorang and tried to accuse her of committing some crimes. That's the reason Yorang is on the run, and the people of the clan are after her. While listening to this, Zhang Qian senses something from the woods and turns around to see a group of people running towards them. Zhang Qian and Yorang stands up as the assassins close in on their campsite. In the center of the valley, Zhang Qian and Yorang are surrounded by the assassins. Yorang yells at the assassins and tries to get them to leave, but none of them responds to her threats. Zhang Qian notices that there are 10 attackers, and he puts his hand on his sword to get ready for the fight. Zhang Qian looks around for Eun-sung, the warrior that is after them, but he is nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, the group of assassins charge at Zhang Qian and Yorang. Yorang pulls out a sword and yells at the men, but they continue to charge. Zhang Qian tells Yorang to get ready, and he charges off to protect her. The first few men attack Yorang, but she is able to dodge their attacks easily. She pulls out some knives and throws them at the men, injuring 2 of them in the process. On the other side of the circle, Zhang Qian kicks a flaming stick at the men charging at him. This blinds them and allows Zhang Qian to cut them down with ease. The assassins try to swing at Zhang Qian, but he is able to dodge their attacks. Zhang Qian notices that Yorang is being attacked from behind, so he uses a technique to dash toward her. Zhang Qian makes it in time and he is able to cut down her attackers. Yorang and Zhang Qian have been able to beat almost half of the men trying to attack them, and the rest of them step back in fear. Yorang thanks Zhang Qian for the help, and the two get ready to fight again. All of a sudden, Zhang Qian notices that the swords the assassins are using don't have blades. Zhang Qian realizes that these men must not have been trying to kill them in the first place, so Zhang Qian decides to let them go. Yorang is shocked that Zhang Qian would let all of the men go, but Zhang Qian still lets them go, so they take the wounded and leave. Yorang tries to ask Zhang Qian why he did this, but he doesn't seem to respond to her. Both of them are scared that they will be attacked again, so they quickly get on their horse and turn to leave their campsite. The next morning, the two stand on a cliff looking over a town. Zhang Qian doesn't think it's a good idea to venture inside the town, but Yorang tells him she has been there before, and they will be able to get some help. The two enter the town and ask a bunch of children for directions to the post office. They point the way and Yorang gives them a coin. Zhang Qian asks her if she likes kids, and Yorang says she used to have younger siblings of her own. She says that if the situation had been better, they would have been good adults. Zhang Qian asks Yorang if she's been in this town before, and she reveals she hasn't been here before. Zhang Qian realizes she lied to him earlier. Before he can say anything, Yorang runs off and tries to find the post office. In the post office, Yorang sends a letter to a place called the Musician Mountain Cabin. The letter says that Yorang will be heading there and she is in need of urgent help. The letter gets sent off, and later that day, Yorang buys a horse to ride on. Zhang Qian is surprised that there aren't any more assassins chasing after them. The two think that Eun-sung must have something up his sleeve, so they head off as fast as possible to a safe location. Later that night, Yorang and Zhang Qian make camp on the side of a mountain. They think that Eun-sung must have given up. Yorang is confident that they will be able to escape danger zone tomorrow since Yorang's friends will be there to help her, but Zhang Qian is still worried. Yorang starts talking to Zhang Qian and asks him why he hasn't joined the Murim Union. With Zhang Qian's strength, he would be guaranteed a high-ranking spot in whatever organization he joins, which would surely be a more comfortable life than the one he is living right now. Zhang Qian responds by saying he doesn't like to be tied down by others. Yorang is impressed by how calm Zhang Qian is, and she looks into his eyes. Yorang sits next to Zhang Qian and asks him why he helped her. She says it's probably just because she's pretty, and Zhang Qian responds by saying that was part of the reason. Yang asks him what the other reason is, and Zhang Qian sighs before starting to explain. Zhang Qian's old life makes him want to act compassionate to others, so whenever people who need help fall in front of him, he can't help but step in. He says he has tried to ignore his past self, but he thinks that the more he ignores him, the more his old self will slowly disappear. Zhang Qian looks at Yang and the two make eye contact for a second. After a moment, Yang calls Zhang Qian strange, but then she leans in to kiss him. The next morning, Zhang Qian wakes up and sees a note next to him. The note is from Yang, and she tells Zhang Qian to not follow her because it's quite dangerous ahead. Zhang Qian runs outside and notices his horse is also missing. Zhang Qian runs through the canyon trying to follow Yang's traces. He uses flying martial arts and he's eventually able to find a set of footprints leading into the forest. He follows them as fast as possible, but out of nowhere, he's attacked by a whip. Zhang Qian dodges it, but the whip strikes a tree next to him and continues to pursue him. Zhang Qian dodges again and lands safely. He looks up to see a man dressed in a blue robe holding the whip. The man smiles at Zhang Qian and compliments him for dodging his attack. Zhang Qian puts his hand on his sword and prepares to draw it. Zhang Qian asks where he is from, but before he can respond, Yang walks out from behind the man. Yang shouts at Zhang Qian and asks him why he followed her. She reveals she stole his horse to stop him from following after her. The man next to Yang asks her who this is, and she tells him that Zhang Qian was the one to save her from Unsung 2 days ago. The man looks at Yang with anger and asks her why Zhang Qian is still alive. Yang says she expected Unsung to be more aggressive and that she planned to use Zhang Qian to escape. The man says that Yang should have just killed him when she had the chance, or that she should have asked for help if she needed it. The man says that Yang will be punished when they get back to the clan. The man then starts walking towards Zhang Qian, asking him about his skills. Zhang Qian laughs and tells the man that he is just a genius martial artist. The man just laughs and says that he would have liked to invite Zhang Qian to his clan if they met in any other situation. The man introduces himself as Yang Jok, a warrior of the Yun clan. Zhang Qian remembers that Yun clan is one of the greatest clans in the world. Zhang Qian realizes that Yang must also be a part of the Yun clan, and that he got caught in the middle of a fight between two important clans. Zhang Qian asks Yang if everything about teaching him martial arts was a lie, and she says that it was a made-up story. Yang reveals that she actually did seduce the young master of the J clan and made him give her a secret book of the clan. After that, she convinced him to try to kill himself. Zhang Qian realizes that J clan that he was fighting against was actually in the right and that Yang was guilty. Yang Jok gets his whip ready and tells Zhang Qian that he won't be able to leave alive. Another warrior of the Yun clan steps out from behind Zhang Qian, and now Zhang Qian is surrounded from both sides. The two pull out their weapons and stand off with Zhang Qian. Yang apologizes to Zhang Qian and tells him she didn't want this to happen, but Zhang Qian doesn't seem to care. Suddenly, the spear user from behind Zhang Qian runs forward and attacks. At the same time, Yang Jok attacks Zhang Qian with his whip. Zhang Qian is able to step back and safely avoid the whip, but his hat is damaged in the process. The whip curves around and continues to attack Zhang Qian, chasing him backwards towards the spearman. Before the other man can attack, Zhang Qian takes off his hat and throws it at the spearman. The spearman is able to cut through it, but the energy in the hat causes the spearman to step back. Yang Jok continues to try to attack Zhang Qian with his whip, but Zhang Qian is able to block all of his attacks, and he turns to rush in to attack Yang Jok. Yang Jok tries to get away, but Zhang Qian is able to get close. Before Zhang Qian can do anything, Yang Jok attempts to catch Zhang Qian's sword with his whip, but Zhang Qian uses his hand to attack Yang Jok, sending him flying back. Before Zhang Qian can recover, the spearman rushes at Zhang Qian from behind. Zhang Qian is able to avoid some of his attack, but he is still stabbed by the spear in the shoulder. Zhang Qian turns around quickly and attacks the spearman rapidly, finally killing him. Zhang Qian stands victorious, but he is heavily wounded by the spear attack from before. Yang Jok sets up and talks to Zhang Qian for a moment before he dies too. He compliments Zhang Qian's martial arts and asks if there is anyone backing him. Zhang Qian pulls the spear out of his shoulder and answers that the group supporting him is very powerful. Yang Jok sighs and falls over, saying that it doesn't matter in the end anyways. Yorang walks forward towards Zhang Qian and speaks to him. She says that it is impressive that Zhang Qian was able to defeat 2 warriors from the Yon clan. She pulls out her sword and stands to fight against Zhang Qian. Before long, Zhang Qian is able to defeat Yorang, and she falls to the ground. She wonders how Zhang Qian is still so strong even though he is injured. Zhang Qian stands over Yorang and offers to heal her with his acupuncture skills. Yorang looks up at the sky and remembers the previous night. She says that she also felt eyes staring at her, telling her to do the right thing in the past. She had assassinated someone in the past, and as she did it, she felt the eyes of her siblings on her. They wanted her to do the right thing, but she didn't listen, and they eventually faded away. Yorang says that Zhang Qian is different because he did the right thing and protected himself while helping others. She says that she has been living a broken life ever since that moment. She looks up at Zhang Qian and asks him to finish what he started by killing her, and Zhang Qian silently listens to her request. After all the conflict is over, Eun-sung approaches Zhang Qian with his men at his side. Zhang Qian asks Eun-sung whether the J clan is after him or not, and Eun-sung says that from hearing their conversation, he is sure that Zhang Qian is innocent. Eun-sung offers to Zhang Qian some medicine, but before they can decide on anything, Zhang Qian's horse comes charging out into the field. Zhang Qian reaches out to get on his horse, but his shoulder suddenly starts hurting. Zhang Qian realizes the blade must have been poisoned. Eun-sung offers to help again, but Zhang Qian tells him to look in the mandolin for the documents that Yorang stole. Zhang Qian starts to ride off, and one of the warriors asks Eun-sung if they should attack him. Eun-sung says to leave Zhang Qian alone, and that he left them without trouble. That night in a different town, the 2 members of the Murim Union Patrol are looking over some information on Zhang Qian. Se-in says that there is barely any information on Zhang Qian in the note, and she tells the informant off for being useless. The informant says he found all the information that he could, and that Zhang Qian is not an important enough figure to have information on him. The 2 patrol members ask if there are any records of his past, but the informant says that they will have to ask someone else for that. The informant reveals that Zhang Qian didn't use the martial arts of the Imperial Army on the bandits. According to the informant, the martial arts used by the Imperial Army are a lot more violent, and that only old martial artists from the army are able to use them. Se-in asks if it was possible for him to alter the technique himself, but the informant says that is impossible because of how heavily guarded the information is. The informant says that Zhang Qian is probably just a very talented young martial artist, and that it is probably best to leave him alone. The informant then gives Se-in some maps that lead to where bandits have kept kidnapped children, which she accepts before thanking the man. She then gets up and leaves, saying that she will check the information on the way. After the 2 leave, the informant takes off his hat and reveals he is actually Yang, the man who Zhang Qian was pursuing a few days ago. Yang is actually a hidden informant for the Murim Union, and reveals he had more information about Zhang Qian than he said before. Zhang Qian's family was fairly normal, but Zhang Qian left them for an unknown reason. Afterwards, he came to the new continent. Yang still thinks the information is useless and sits back in his chair, but Yang thinks Zhang Qian must be an important person in the future of the continent. Somewhere else near a river, a young woman is washing her face in the water. Suddenly, blood fills the water, and the woman looks up to see Zhang Qian laying upstream in the river. Zhang Qian dreams about his past life and all the people he used to know. He sees a scene of a hot air balloon show, and he sees his mom smiling down at him. Before he can imagine anything else, he wakes up inside a strange tent, with mud covering part of his body and his wound. One of the people in the tent says that Zhang Qian is very handsome. Zhang Qian sits up and asks them if they can get him some water. The woman in the tent is shocked that Zhang Qian can speak their language, but the other man responds calmly. Zhang Qian explains he'll learn some of the tribe's words here and there. The woman realizes that Zhang Qian heard everything she said earlier, and she runs off embarrassed. The other man calls out to her and asks her where she's going, and she yells that she's going to get water. The man calls her Blue Wolf, and talks to Zhang Qian about her in Zhang Qian's language for a bit. Zhang Qian is also surprised that the man can speak Mandarin properly, but the man explains that people on both sides exist who can speak each other's language. Zhang Qian notices the mud on his body, and he realizes that it must be a type of medicine. The man introduces himself as Red Wind, and he explains that they found Zhang Qian a few days ago, but Zhang Qian's wounds were healing on their own too. Red Wind asks Zhang Qian if he's being followed by martial artists, and Zhang Qian explains that all the people who were chasing him are long dead. Later in the day, Zhang Qian walks about the tribe's land and looks around. he finds Blue Wolf feeding his horse and goes over to her to talk. Blue Wolf asks Zhang Qian about his horse, and Zhang Qian explains that his horse is special to him, but he also causes trouble for him sometimes. Before they can talk to each other anymore, Red Wind comes up behind Zhang Qian and asks him how he is feeling. Zhang Qian says he is doing much better and he thanks Red Wind for the medicine. Red Wind asks Zhang Qian to come with him to meet the elder of the tribe. Red Wind explains that the elder is the one who insisted on treating Zhang Qian's wounds, and that she is also the oldest person in the tribe. Zhang Qian understands and follows Red Wind towards the tent. He turns around to thank Blue Wolf for her help too. The two reach the tent of the elder, and Zhang Qian enters it. In front of a fire, an old man with a glowing eye greets Zhang Qian and asks him to sit down. Zhang Qian greets the elder in their language, and the elder asks Zhang Qian where he learned the tribe's language. Zhang Qian explains that in the capital, there are people that will teach anything for the right price. The elder introduces himself as One-Eyed Cloud, and he says that he is the oldest person in the village. One-Eyed Cloud talks about how he was the sorcerer of the tribe for the longest time, and that the younger generations don't know how to treat others with respect. Zhang Qian interrupts and asks One-Eyed Cloud why he saved Zhang Qian from dying. One-Eyed Cloud asks Zhang Qian if he would have preferred to be left to die. He says that Zhang Qian's horse was very loyal, and that no one with a bad heart would be cared for by a horse like that. The elder then looks at Zhang Qian and says that he is personally interested in Zhang Qian as well. The elder opens his other eye, which glows red. He asks Zhang Qian whether he is enjoying his second life, which causes Zhang Qian to jump in surprise. Zhang Qian calms himself down and explains that this world is very chaotic, and that it could be better. One-Eyed Cloud sees that Zhang Qian didn't use any sort of demonic arts but still managed to reincarnate somehow. Zhang Qian listens for a bit and asks the elder how he is able to see Zhang Qian's spirit from his last life. The elder says that he would lose his power if he tried to explain it. The elder and Zhang Qian talk for a bit, before Zhang Qian is asked by One-Eyed Cloud to teach martial arts to the people of the tribe. Later that night, Red Wind walks up to Zhang Qian and asks him if he understood what the elder was asking. Zhang Qian says he understood clearly, and asks if there was something that happened to the village. Red Wind explains that a man of the tribe sold the land the tribe is staying on to an outsider. The young man didn't listen to anyone from the tribe and sold it without listening to his elders. The young man ran off with the money, and he left the tribe alone to fend for themselves. The people the young man sold the land to tried to attack the tribe and kick them off the land, but the tribe has been able to survive till now. Zhang Qian realizes that these men must be frauds who scammed the tribe out of their land, and he says that it would be smart to talk to the Murim Union about this. Red Wind says the leader of the branch is being bribed, and that they won't help until the tribe is driven away. Red Wind tells Zhang Qian that there is a gold mine on the land, and that is one of the reasons why the men want it so bad. Zhang Qian is motivated by this and gathers the tribe members to try and teach them how to defend the gold mine and their land.